Welcome to Holistic Health and Healing, a show offering solutions for the body, being, and beyond. In each episode, we discuss topics that empower you to take a holistic approach to step into your unique voice in this world. Now, here are your hosts, Dr. K and Hank Sedela, the Sonic Shaman.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We have such a special guest on with us today that's going to be talking about Eastern medicine. And I have to be honest, I totally didn't have my little introduction thing ready, so I just got to it. But she's the founder of Integrative Heart Healing Arts in New York City. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, so if you want to give us, I know you've had 19 years of experience in alternative and Chinese medicine, but why don't you give us a little bit of a snippet of your background and what you bring to the table in terms of people's wellness, health, and well-being?
Okay. So I am trained in Chinese medicine, acupuncture, herbal medicine, but more than that, Chinese medicine has other branches that include food and dietary, body work, cosmology, feng shui, and different forms of exercise and meditation. So what I do is I help women get pregnant naturally. That's my main group of people. And at the same time, I also have a lot of, treating many things from anxiety, digestion, pain. And what I do is I help teach my patients how to, make that mind-body connection so that they can tap into the healing that's inside of them. We all have that. So that's in a big, the goal is that, they get healthier, they learn more about their body. And I do this with acupuncture, herbal medicine, awareness, and really helping to guide them. So that's, using all of those techniques or tools of cultivating health.
Yep. Well, you're in good company because Dr. K, she's a functional medicine doctor and incorporates all kinds of awesome, amazing things. So the conversation will probably go back more between the two of you. As I'm more often in woo-woo land, but no matter.
Well, there's also a very spiritual aspect to Chinese medicine, which for the most part, that in this country is not really taught, but you can't really separate. It's mind, body, energy, and spirit, right? It's all of those things, right? So you're in conversation.
You're good. And the real challenge is having all these things, whether it's more on the woo-woo side or more on the more practical side, if you want to call it that, but putting it in the package of what we call the Western health model, because everybody, whether they want to or not, if their insurance and everything, it's all really functioning from this Western health model. So what have you found are the greatest ways to start really finding the middle ground where the two meet?
Well, it's really a matter of looking at what is the paradigm of it. So if you are doing something, so what we've been brought up is really in the Western scientific model of you have a problem, it gets diagnosed, and you get a pill or you get surgery. And so with Chinese medicine, we'll call it East Asian medicine because it also covers because it encompasses more than just the Chinese model. There's Japanese, there's Korean, there's Indian. There's a lot of all of those practices converge with the idea of energy and healing. So with Chinese medicine, it understands what the natural state of health the body is and helps you to get there, right? So it's a very different concept. Now you can take Western thing like medications with the idea of this is going to help me get better and better, right? Versus, this is just going to, put a Band-Aid on something, because if the body's not healing and you're just treating that symptom, the disease process or whatever the root cause is continues. Yeah. And they know that whatever is going to cause, let's say, diabetes, that many of the other side effects continue, such as kidney problems, right? Eye problems later on. And so just because your sugar numbers are regulated, whatever triggered the disease process continues. So understanding, yes, you can regulate your blood sugar, but also you need to work on your diet. You need to do exercise. You also need to kind of look at what are all of those other things, because that is the symptom. That what that diagnosis is really a symptom of something else. So just because your blood numbers are good, that doesn't mean you're healthy. And it's really being conscious of like all of those factors and what form of health, right? So not having a disease is not really healthy. It's not like, and so that's that definition. What kind of a quality of life do you want to have? And I think it can come from there.
And because I definitely want to touch on starting out your specialty, which is helping getting women pregnant. But before we go there, because some of our listeners obviously aren't in that space, but the things that would stop you from getting pregnant, even if you're not trying, that is still a sign that something's not healthy in the body, like hormone regulation, for example, whether or not you're trying to become pregnant or not. If those are off, that could lead to other things going on in your reality. So I want to start with that framework as we enter that conversation, so people know, hey, this is still relevant to you, even if you're not trying to get pregnant.
Oh, absolutely.
So what is the main thing when people are looking for pregnancy type of things? Like, what do you find is like the most common theme for things being off in that realm? I'm sure it could be a lot of things, but what's the most relevant, would you say?
Okay, so that's a great question, because the state of awareness, and mostly I see women because they're very much like, there's something wrong, I got to figure out what's wrong. At that state of awareness is usually when they've already gone to see a gynecologist, or they've gone to visit a clinic and had blood work done. And then it shows that their hormone levels are off. And so that's the symptom, right? That's the symptom where that is going to be an obstacle for them getting pregnant. What is causing that? Well, environmental factors, all the plastics, a lot of the foods that they're eating. They could have been on birth control for a really long time. And there's like a form of polycystic ovary syndrome that can occur, after being on birth control, right? And so then there's also stress. There's a history of diet. There could be a history of infections. Like all of those things are leading to this picture that's being taken at that moment when they have their blood work done. And so if that isn't addressed, then all of these other numbers that are showing up are not going to make a difference. So if you just throw more hormone stimulants on that, it's not really addressing what is happening underneath. And so a big factor is, to kind of roll back, all right, you need, time-wise, we need to look at, clearing up the diet, other inflammations that are there, which I'm sure with functional medicine, they address that too.
Yep.
You're looking at the symptom of the hormone imbalances are coming, you got to come from someplace else. And then also what interferes. Stress is a big interference. And when someone is trying to get pregnant and it's not working, that really sets off alarm bells. Poor sleep. People underestimate how important sleep is. I did a thing about sleep, and it was, it's the hormone of darkness, right? It is the melatonin. And if you're not getting the sleep at the time when you need to, your biological clock is going to be off. And that means the hormones are also going to be imbalanced. So there are many things that you'd have to look at in terms of how someone is, their state of health. And that's like the big, health picture, right? Which is really important, because you need to be healthy if you're going to have a healthy pregnancy and a delivery and postpartum. So those are the things that we look at as, where are the things that are we call out of balance, and what you need to do to get healthier. And then you can really look at the measure of the hormone levels, right? So those are the things that you have control over. And if necessary, some herbs, and those are also very temporary, to just help the body move and go into that homeostasis, right? Into its natural healing state, right? That's where we're always going towards that.
And you say a lot of the same things I've heard Dr. K say. Dr. K, I know you have a lot of tools in your repertoire. How often do you deal with people who are looking to get pregnant, and what other contributions could you offer or validations to what she's already said?
Well, that's not my specialty. But I will tell you this. I do have one story around that. I had a friend that wanted to get pregnant and was not achieving it. We have an acupuncturist around here, and that's what she focuses on specifically. And she changed her diet. She was eating clean and still kind of wasn't working to the point that, Joe, I don't know if you're familiar, but Colorado has, you pay I think it's like $35,000 or $40,000 for that in vitro, and they guarantee a 75% rate pregnancy. But I'm like, I had just learned this pranic healing, and I'm like, I'm just going to play with this. So I did a healing on her. I'm like, what is holding you up emotionally? She wanted this baby so bad, but she was still kind of jealous of a friend. And so I did 3 healings on her. Within 2 weeks, she was pregnant. And she had been doing all this stuff and nothing was working. And she didn't make the connection. So this was an energetic piece. So that's my extent of helping people get pregnant.
It's all energy. And actually in my book, the one that, Will I Ever Get Pregnant? The Smart Woman's Guide to Get Pregnant Over 30, I talk about those energetic blocks. So those, there's so many women that also come in and all of their numbers are perfect. Like, I don't know what's wrong. We've been trying. We have unexplained infertility. And there is conflict, an energetic conflict.
Stress.
Right?
Good old-fashioned stress.
Well, stress is one of the things that will bring it on. There are fears. Sometimes there are issues from their, childhood, or that, do they want to have a kid, or will their career be impacted? Is their partner going to be a good, spouse? Will that change their relationship? So
many
those
things.
are energy blocks. And with Chinese medicine, you look at all of that going into alignment, because really what you're doing is you're receiving this spirit. You are receiving this heavenly energy, which is life, right? So you have the physical, and it's really this alchemy that's going to happen. And that is, so kind of clearing out those energy blocks. Also, that's like an internal conflict, right? And so many women have it. They say, oh, I just went to another birthday, a baby shower, why not me? And when they get into that, it's like a very negative loop.
But it's the truth, Cho. We talk about, there's so many things you have to look at. And I think we're in such a society of a quick fix. It's been 2 weeks. Why am I not better? There's so many components. And when you're starting with somebody that hasn't done anything and they've just gone to their practitioner and things aren't, they've been given a lot of pills and I don't feel better. It's like, we have to look at your sleep. We have to adjust that. I do hormone testing. I do saliva testing. It's, I'm sure you can comment on that, and I'll let you talk about the conjugated and unconjugated. But, it's so many different parts and pieces, and it takes time. It's not an instant fix, because when all these systems are off, we have to get them, like you said, back in alignment and look at the root cause. And we're in such a society of, I hear so many people say, "Oh, my doctor said my sugars are good. We're good. My metformin's working." And I'm like, but no, that's just, it's just a Band-Aid. Let's look at why this happened. And I've dealt with a lot of diabetics and getting people off of diabetic medications very simply, but it does take diet. It does take exercise.
Well, we
it
also
does
have
take
to
all
want
these
it,
things.
right?
Yes,
and so that is, getting back to what we were talking about, what's the difference? And that's really, the person has to have that desire of having that health and really be like, I don't want to be on medication. I don't want to, with diabetes, they call it's a disease where you die by the inch, right? Because of all the amputations that happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Scary stuff.
And so there are many, once you have that diagnosis or you have that condition, that will cause so many ripple effects for health, right? With liver, with heart disease. It's much more complicated. A patient that comes in and has to have a surgery, and they have and they're diabetic, right? With their wound recovery, all of those things. So it's not like, oh, that's fixed. It actually impacts the whole body. It's not a separate thing.
Yeah.
Very cool. And just a reminder for people who are listening that don't see see the screens that I'm putting up. If you want to connect with our guest, her website is integrativehealingarts.com. And also in the description of the video, there are links to her Instagram and her Facebook. So there's other ways that you can connect with her there. And I wanted to grab a link for your book, but I couldn't grab the title quick enough. What's the name of the book one more time? And I'll make sure I post a link to it.
Okay, it's Will I Ever Get Pregnant? The Smart Woman's Guide to Get Pregnant Over 40, Naturally Over 40.
Perfect. And out of curiosity, how often is it more on the man's side that the issue is? Like, say, for example, somebody has a real point of view. They don't want to get pregnant. They don't want to tell their wife, but they have this point of view and this intention. So there's this underlying energy around it. How often does it end up not being on the feminine side that the work needs to be done?
That's a great question, because I'd have to say for the male, it's not as much. I haven't encountered that energetic. I mean, that they won't, if they have that, they're not coming into my office. Usually I will hear it through their partner that there's a lot of resistance to changing their diet or to even getting their sperm analysis, or, like doing things, that there's a lot of resistance. And that's like